Get in, lads. The USA-Canada friendly just finished about like 5-10 minutes ago. I'm going to give you guys my initial reaction and thoughts because I have a lot of them. A lot of things happened in that match. A lot of things didn't happen in that match. I'm going to talk about all of them today, guys. But before I get into it, make sure to like the video if you think the USA had a really, really poor game. Make sure to subscribe for more USA and Canada content moving forward, as well as just any other CONCACAF content. And of course, let me know all your guys' opinions in the comments down below because I'm going to read all of them. I'm going to respond to as many as I possibly can. So make sure to do that in the comments down below. First off, I'm going to start with Canada's side of things in this match instead of the USA's. And honestly, Canada played a really, really good game up until, really like the last kind of 20-25 minutes were a little rough around the edges for Canada, but that's okay. Leading up to it, though, like the first 20 minutes were absolutely phenomenal by Canada. Jesse Marsch absolutely had the USA's number. Like, he knew exactly what was going to happen. He knew that the midfield was going to be the only source of creativity for the USA because the wings, or the wing backs, were not, the typical Serginho and Anthony Robinson combination, who are really, really clinical and helpful on the attack. It was Joe Scally and Christopher Lund, who don't really provide a lot on the attack, and that's not their job, so that's okay. But Jesse Marsch entirely knew what USA's game plan was going to be and perfectly shut it down. USA couldn't do anything for that first maybe 35 minutes until like a little bit at the end of that first half and really the last 25 minutes of the game. They had an excellent press. They were pressing with like 5-6 people at one time, and that led to a shit ton of mistakes from the USA, in particular from Johnny Cardoso, in particular from Tim Ream, which I'm going to get into later on. But they perfectly played to their strengths and to the USA's weaknesses, and that allowed them to get that 2-1 win. And truthfully, they should have had a lot more goals than they did. They should have had 2 or 3 more goals. They had a really good game plan going into it. Jesse Marsch just proves time and time again that he was the perfect choice for the Canadian national team moving forward from that Copa America and whatnot. Their center backs looked phenomenal. Both Cornelius and Bombito, specifically Bombito, looked phenomenal at the back. They looked like, an absolute wall preventing any kind of USA attack from moving far beyond, or at least from moving into the penalty box. I mean, that first half, the USA only really had one chance. That was down to the good USA play, good USA decision making, kind of catching the Canada's defense off guard. Unfortunate that they didn't get a goal, but otherwise, Canada, especially Bombito, had a really good game in front of the goalkeeper, and were a big reason as to why the USA only scored 1 goal, and even that 1 goal was kind of like a stupid fluke goal. They're a big reason why USA couldn't create whatsoever throughout the entire game. Ali Ahmed, of course, also had an absolutely wonderful game for Canada. I think he's going to get a move soon. There's no way he doesn't get a big move to a top, a bigger league other than where he's at right now, because he had an absolutely phenomenal game. He was a huge reason why Canada was all over the place, all over the USA. And then Jonathan David, of course, in the attack was lights out. I mean, he typically is. I think right now, based off everybody's performances in the region for their international side, not really counting club side, I think Jonathan David is probably the best number 9 that we have in the entire region. I think Santi could get up there, but he doesn't really do anything. Folarin Balogun, he's solid, but doesn't really do anything. Michael Antonio and maybe Mason Greenwood, who knows? But as of right now, in this moment, Jonathan David is without a doubt, in my mind, the best number 9 in the entire CONCACAF region. And he played really well today. I mean, he had a phenomenal finish. Even Kyle Larin should have had a brace. Really, they should have had a brace. Canada, all in all, should have scored more than 2 goals. It should have been a 4 or 5 goal defeat for the USA, to be honest. But otherwise, Jonathan David, absolutely phenomenal. Their whole attack honestly looked really solid. And that's not only down to the attacking part, that's also down to their defensive play with the press and whatnot. So the Canada's attack looked really good. And a big difference from Copa America, which I think they had some really good moments, but overall, one of the biggest issues was Canada's goal scoring. They couldn't score goals. They created some opportunities, but they didn't look a whole lot confident, I would say, in their goal scoring opportunity. Right here looked like a big change for me, at least. It looked like they could do a lot more on that goal scoring front, and they really showed it with 2 goals and probably 4 or 5 more. But the lack of goals there wasn't really down to them. I mean, that was Patrick Schulte's one positive of the match, and I'll mention that later on again. But Canada's attack looked really solid. Their midfield looked really good against the USA's midfield, and one that they're missing Ishmael Kone. They're missing one of their biggest key factors in this entire team, and they still dominated that midfield against the USA. So overall, very solid from Canada. I really enjoyed watching them play, and personally, I think they're probably the most intimidating team in the entire CONCACAF right now. They have the most momentum. They look the strongest. On paper, they're probably not. On paper, I would say the USA still looks better, but without Pochettino, without any bit of composure like they didn't have today, I think Canada is definitely the number one right now in the entire region, and I hope they continue with it. I'm really, really excited for the game against Mexico, and we're going to do a match preview for that ahead of it and maybe a reaction afterwards. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure to subscribe now and turn notifications on. But that game against Mexico is going to be really, really good. If you have such a good showing against the USA here and you can continue the same momentum and the same good showing against another CONCACAF giant in Mexico, really, really would solidify CONCACAF's or sorry, Canada's top spot in the region right now, because no one else is really providing the same results, the same momentum, the same hope that Canada are doing. So there's no reason why you can't call them the number one in the entire continent, really. If you're a fan of the Canada national team, congratulations to you. You guys played absolutely phenomenally, and I want to hear your comments down below on how your team played. Let me know. I'm going to respond to them like I said. Now we get to move on to the USA side of things, and I have a lot of thoughts about this one as well. But first of all, this team desperately needs Pochettino. Without a doubt, this team needs Pochettino. They looked so poor for most of the game. There was a few moments, a few stretches where they looked decent. The last 10 minutes of the first half was solid. The last 20 minutes was okay of the entire game. The second half was okay. Overall, though, it was really bad. It was really poor. The USA looked like they lacked so much. Like, for all the quality this team has on paper for their clubs and whatnot individually, it doesn't translate here. And that's down to a lot of factors. I think one of them was coaching. I think one of them is the culture of how this team is bred and designed to work together. It's not working. And you can't be losing to Canada like this. I'm sorry. I get it. Like I said, I just talked about it. Canada is the strongest team in the region right now, but you were supposed to be the number one as the USA. You are the ones that are talked about with the golden generation moving forward, and whatever. You need to be beating Canada here, and I get it. I understand it is a friendly, and that's the one positive I guess I'm gonna have for this team is that it was a friendly. It doesn't mean much. It's not Nations League. It's not World Cup qualifiers or whatever. Still, though, it really shows how poor they look overall and how much progress needs to be made with this next manager, which should be Pochettino. If it's not, who knows? But it really, really demonstrates what this team lacks. The players obviously did not care about this game. Without a doubt, they did not care about this game. They went into this after going to a baseball game yesterday or the day before, looking to go into this and having a good time, having a fun kickabout, and probably beating Canada. Canada played this like it was a final, and which they should have done, and the USA should have done from the get-go, and it took them about 70 minutes to realize that. After halftime, they looked solid, but still couldn't get really much going, and Canada then scored another goal. Individually, Johnny Cardoso looked so poor, and that sucks because I love Johnny Cardoso. I'm a Betis fan, as well as a Chelsea fan and LAFC. I'm a Betis fan. I love Johnny Cardoso. I think he has a future with this team, but it never translates to the USA. And today he gave up the one turnover that led to the first goal, as well as other turnovers. He looked so far off of what I know he is, and so far off of what this USA team needs, and really doesn't look like a good second team option when Tyler Adams is out. Tyler Adams obviously brings a lot here, and I really think Johnny Cardoso can. He just didn't. And the faith in him, I know, doing those a lot from not only me, but from the fan base as every game that he plays goes on. But I do think he has the quality to bring it back. It's just today he looked poor. He looked really, really poor in the midfield. And I saw people comparing him with Charlie Rodriguez, and that should say a lot as to how you're playing. This game was not his best game by far. He should have been subbed out at half, to be honest, and it's unfortunate. But give him the game time against New Zealand on Tuesday. It didn't look good. It didn't look good for him, which is really, really unfortunate. Another player that I thought was pretty poor was Tim Ream. I'm sorry, Tim Ream. I love Tim Ream. I've always loved Tim Ream. When he was at Fulham, I've loved watching him at Fulham. I think his time with the Usmnt is done. He's old now, no offense, and he still has quality, but MLS quality, and that's not enough anymore for this team. Tim Ream, I think his time is up. I don't mind the fact that he would be here. I just don't think he should be starting every game like he is. I think it's time you bring in the Mark McKenzies. It's time you start starting the Austin Trustees and whatnot. But Tim Ream just should not be starting every single game, especially a game against a really young, youthful side in Canada. Tim Ream was making a lot of mistakes. On that press, he couldn't beat it at all. He couldn't work his way out of it at all. It looked really, really poor from him. He gave up a lot of turnovers. A lot of balls were given to the Canadian national team for chances. I think his time is up. He had a really, really poor game, and it's him and Cardoso, I think, that had the worst games out of the whole team. Not to say that everybody else had a good game, but they had the worst games, and it was noticeable. It really was noticeable, and it led to a lot of mistakes. It led to a lot of chances for Canada moving forward, and that ones they arguably should not have had. I think in particular with these two players, subs should have been made a lot sooner. I know that at least Tim Ream didn't get subbed out the whole game. Johnny Cardoso did get subbed out later on for Luca De La Torre, and he did obviously score that goal. It didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense, and they were the worst two negatives here. I think a player like Gio Reyna would have helped a lot on the attack. Unfortunately, that he did get hurt. Apparently, he was looking really good in training and then wasn't able to apply that to this game because of his injury, but I think it would have done a lot. So overall, it was just a poor overall team performance here. There were some positives though that I'll talk about. I think Malik Tillman had a really good game. He was the reason why they got that one good chance in the first half and they didn't score. He was the reason that he was the first ball made to set up that attack. And I think he made a couple other good chances that he created by himself. He was really good. And I really do want to see him being played a little bit more with this team. So definitely positive there. I think he should have stayed in a little bit longer, but I get it. Youth, not conditioned for it. No big deal. He looked really good. Another player that looked really good was Patrick Schulte net. Even though he conceded 2 goals, he was the reason that they didn't concede 2 or 3 more. He had a really, really good game, and I don't think many were expecting him to start this game against Canada, but he did. He was given the chance to, and he looked pretty solid. I don't think he should be the number one moving forward. I wouldn't mind seeing him a little bit more with the team. I definitely think he provided a lot more security and hope amongst fans than a Matt Turner does, than an Ethan Horvath does, than a Zach Steffens does. So I do think he should be involved a little more. And he had a really good game, like I said. So props to him for sure. I don't know if he starts against New Zealand. That's a game where I think I would rather see like Diego Calkins start instead, because you might as well. It's New Zealand. If we play like this against New Zealand, we should still win. Then again, you never know. I don't think he should start, but if he does, I wouldn't be upset. Moving forward in other games, I wouldn't be upset if he does play. He looked really, really good. And again, the main reason why Canada didn't win this game 4-5-1. So shout out to Patrick Schulte. Another player that stood out in the absence of Anthony Robinson was Christopher Lund. He started off okay. I think it took him a little bit to get into it, but that second half was really, really good. He had one good, really, really good run from the left backside up until the attack, and then made kind of a poor cross that didn't really lead to a whole lot, but otherwise I think he did solid once he picked it up, once he got a little bit more confidence in him. No other player really stood out to me. Pulisic was okay. I think he complained a lot more to the ref than he did on the pitch with his skill or contribution to the team, and that's okay. That's what he does. I still love him, but to be honest, prefer him in a more centrally positioned role, at least right now. With the absence of Gio Reyna, it was okay. I wish Haji Rice started over Brandon Aronson. He had a lot of mistakes made, but he's a workhorse, and that's pretty much all he brings to his clubs. I think and the team here, I think what he misses out on technically, he brings that passion and that energy, but sometimes it's not enough. And I've been a proponent recently of him not being a part of the team, or at least the starting lineup. I just don't think he's enough anymore for this team. I think we can move on and play other players in that position and give him a better chance. I think Aiden Morris, I would have almost preferred him to start the game. I think he might have a higher ceiling than Brandon Aronson right now. Even bringing Paxton, to be honest. But okay, that's it. Folarin Balogun was solid, decent for what he was given. He just makes a lot of heavy touches. He makes a lot of interesting decisions with the ball. No big deal for him. I mean, a lot of his success comes from what he's contributed to from his teammates. So it's a lot of, like I said, his team surrounding him instead of him. Otherwise, though, everyone was just kind of lackluster. That midfield was really, really poor, like I said, in general. Yunus Musa normally has a really big impact on the games, but today he was non-existent. And that's not so much on him. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but that's really a testament to Canada's midfield, like I said. So otherwise, the only other things I could say was the fan turnout was kind of poor. And I get it. It's hot. I'm from Southern California. I understand how hot it is. It's a Saturday. I mean, not many people will want to be in here. It's just a friendly, and you're missing a lot of key players. But fan turnout was kind of poor. They got loud towards the end. Don't get me wrong, but in general, just the atmosphere wasn't there. And I think that really reflected to the USA's team mentality. I mean, that's not because, but they both had that same kind of mentality of just it's whatever, that's whatever. And you can't be doing that right now. You got 2 years to prep for the World Cup. And every single game matters because you're not doing World Cup qualifiers. Every single friendly matters. And you have to play like it. And I don't think they're playing like it here. And I hope that changes. I hope once Poch comes in, he goes ham on this team because this team is obviously complacent and comfortable. And to have success, you can't be like that. You can't do that. And we know that Poch is a big proponent of not being comfortable and really digging in if you're not trying hard. And I think that's going to have a huge impact here. I understand the fan reaction of, the USA is not up there, what happened to the Gold Generation and whatnot. It's rightfully deserved criticism, but I think Poch is going to be the one to really set this team straight. And he really needs to be. That is exactly what the next manager needs to be, whether it's him or not, because this team obviously struggles from a lack of motivation. Obviously, there's no heart. There's no heart. When you're put on this badge, whether it's the friendly, whether it's the World Cup final, just for example, you have to care. You have to care, and this team did not care today. And that's really, really what bothers me the most is this team did not care for a while. I know at halftime, Mikey Veras was saying a lot of things, apparently a lot of F-bombs and whatnot to try and get the team motivated, but he shouldn't have to do that at halftime in a friendly against Canada. That should be the heart and the game plan, and the effort should be there from minute one, and it wasn't there today, unfortunately. And I really hope that changes against New Zealand. Even though it's New Zealand, even though it's not that much competition, I really, really would like them to look like they care more. And the fact that they might care more against New Zealand than Canada is a really big sign of what the issues are with this team and what needs to change. Yeah, those are going to be my thoughts on the game that just happened. Like I said earlier, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments because I'm going to read all of them. I'm going to respond to all of them. And make sure to subscribe for more content like this because USA and Canada are definitely two teams to watch moving forward because there's so much. Whoa, what the hell? There's so much story around them. There's so much context and things that can happen and whatnot. So make sure to subscribe here for the best content on YouTube for those stories and content and videos and whatnot. So yeah, otherwise that's gonna be it for me, guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your morning, day, or night whenever you're watching this. And yeah, take it easy, guys.